We're starting a new unit this month where we're going to be learning about the artist Henri Rousseau. So we are going to be creating watercolor gardens today. We're going to start out with some oil pastels, and we're going to make all of these fun flowers and plants, and then after that we're going to paint over them with watercolor. And what's cool is you'll notice that with this oil pastel, it resists the water and the watercolors, and so it'll still show up really nice even when you paint right over the top of it. So it's a fun project. I hope you guys enjoy it, and here we go. So here are the items that we're going to need for our project. You're going to need this PDF. It's a printout of the different kinds of plants and flowers that Rousseau would use very often in his paintings. So we need that. You'll need a white piece of construction paper. You can also use the paper from your sketchbook that you have. You're going to need some water for your watercolors, some oil pastels, some watercolors, and you will also need just a paper towel to dab off some of the water if we need it. So we're going to start out. First thing that every artist should always do is to write their name on their paper. So I'll do that real quick. And I'd love for you guys to do that too. All right, and then we're going to open up our oil pastels. Now, with our oil pastels, we're going to be creating our whole garden right now with oil pastels. And the fun thing is, guys, that once we create our garden and put all of our plants and flowers in, we're going to paint over them. And because of the oil in these oil pastels, it's going to resist that watercolor paint. And so it makes a really cool technique. This also works with crayons. So if by chance you don't have oil pastels, you are able to use crayons and it'll have the same watercolor resist effect. So let's start out. We're going to start with putting in kind of some base foliage or some big green plants. And what we're going to start out with are kind of like these snake plants. So they're going to be long, pointy leaves with another little leaf on the inside. So we're going to kind of just start with that. So here we go. Let's start over here. And just with your green, you're going to want to make some nice big leaves in there. All right, you might want to even have some smaller snake plant type leaves in here. So maybe more of a wider leaf with a point at the end. However you guys want. I'm trying to make these really thick, nice and thick green so that it looks more like a thick jungle area. So I'm going to kind of add on to those too. So I think I'll just paint on the insides of these when I come back with my watercolors. So I have a nice thick amount of foliage right here, just a nice thick start to kind of show our watercolor garden. So now I'm going to start with drawing some plants in. And I think I'm going to start with some orange branches. And I might do those kind of in a reddish, and then I might fill them in with orange. So you guys can see these orange branches. You just start out, you do a little bit of a trunk almost, and then you can branch off and do little tiny leaves all throughout. And then over here, I'm going to do some lotus blossoms. This is what the lotus blossoms look. They have a nice long stem and then a whole bunch of overlapping petals. So I'm going to use the blue and just do some stems. So I might have 3, maybe 4. I'll put a stem in right there too. So then I'll get my yellow and I'll draw my lotus flowers. So we'd want to come out. We have some cool reeds. Here's some fun reeds. So you just do kind of like a stem, and then these almost look like evergreen branches to me. So that should be pretty easy. Let's do that maybe with a green. To do a few more orange branches and maybe just bring them off to the side like this. We want it to have like a real jungle type feel with lots of plants. And I think that that is starting to look really good, you guys. That is definitely looking nice and full. And then we can do some sky in the background. So the last thing I want to do is I want to think about where my horizon line is going to be. Now remember that your horizon line is what breaks basically the ground level with the sky level. So where are we going to end our land and where are we going to begin our sky? So I'm thinking it'll be right about in here. And you just want to take a little green to do your horizon line. And of course it doesn't have to be perfect. I kind of like how it's up and down. So I've got my horizon line in there. I know where I'm going to be painting my sky then. And then all this down below is going to be nice and dark. Okay, now it's going to be time to start watercolors. So we're going to start painting. Hey guys, I'm thinking it might be kind of fun to add in maybe a mountain or something in the background. You can always do that too. So I think I'm going to start with that. So I want to always, when I'm painting, to start with the top and head down to the bottom, especially because we're going to have a lot of dark colors in here. So I'm going to start with just a little mountain in the back here. I think that would look really cool. And I'm just kind of painting around all of that oil pastel that we used before. And what is so cool is that if you used these oil pastels, also it'll work with crayons, but I like the oil pastels better. Look at how that still shows through. Do you guys see how I can just paint right on top of all of those reeds that I painted, and it still comes through beautifully? It's because of that oil in the oil pastel. So remember, you put in that horizon line, so you only want to go to where that horizon line is. So we're gonna, oops, there we go. We're gonna just continue that down a little bit. And I'm using a light value of brown. And remember, value just means the lightness or darkness of a color. So I'm trying to use just kind of a light value of brown just to show that this is a nice mountain in the distance. And I might take a little bit darker brown. So this is just a darker value, so I'm using less water. And I'm just going to put a little bit of a shadow on it, just on the edge of the mountain, just to kind of show. And if it's a little too dark, like mine was, I'm just going to put some water right on top of it and just kind of blend it. That's the awesome thing with watercolors, you guys, is you can change it by just putting a little bit extra water on there. There we go. Okay, so I've got my mountain. Now I'm going to paint my sky. So I get nice and wet. I'm going to go into my blue and we're going to paint a nice blue sky. And the darkness of your sky is going to still count on how much water you use. So we'll just keep on going in and getting more water, painting that sky. Okay, so I've got a sky, I've got my mountain painted in. Now we're going to try for these middle flowers, and there might be some extra colors you want to add in. So I'm just going to start painting all of these cool flowers that I drew. to start painting all of these leaves and this foliage. So what you might want to do is start by painting some of them green, but maybe you want to mix in a little bit of blue and add some different color greens in there. It's totally up to you. All right, now that you've got the foliage, you're going to want to think about how you want to paint and color in the land, so under that horizon line. And what I thought would be a good color is you could just mix some of your green and just add a tiny bit of some brown in. Gives you almost like a kind of a camouflage or forest green color. I'm just going to add that right in. Do you see how it's just a little bit darker? And I'm going to make sure there's no white areas. Because in a garden, the only time you really see white is if it's on the petals of a flower. Now, if you don't like this kind of a background color, you could mix like your green and yellow together and get a nice light green color. I kind of went with this just to have more of a muted color, just kind of more earth tones. But that would also be pretty, is the green and yellow, or even a green with some blue in it. We've got our Rousseau's Watercolor Garden. I hope you guys had fun drawing with your oil pastels and painting and seeing how that cool oil pastel will do a nice resist to that watercolor too. So hope you had fun with this, you guys, and I look forward to learning more about the artist Henri Rousseau with you guys this month. Take care and have a wonderful week. Bye.